Okay, episode 5 of Anime for Trashdwellers, because yes, I somehow made it up to 5 episodes before I gave up and cried. Alrighty, episode 5, we are talking about After School Dice Club. Okay, I generally enjoy watching anime where the main subject matter is something that I have an interest in, hence After School Dice Club, or board game anime as I call it, because I love playing those adult board games. The only thing holding me back from playing them is money and friends. Basically, these board games are the highlight of otherwise dour and tedious adult Christmases and other family gatherings. Just last week, the boy was saying we should buy Haunted House, even though I specifically remember him saying 5 years ago that he's sick of playing this overrated game over and over again. But whatever. Alrighty, episode 1. It starts with this quiet girl talking about how she's never fit in because she doesn't like playing. If she were, say, 11... that would make sense for someone to be hung up about, but she's a teenager. At this age, it's more weird to still like playing anything that isn't a sport. Won't include video games though, they definitely did used to be in this category. This is emphasized when the class rep invites her to a karaoke night and she outright lies to her. Like, karaoke? Is that really the reference you're going to use for the stuff most people like that I don't? It is completely understandable why someone wouldn't want to be in a small, cramped room filled with noisy kids they may not know that well and then being pressured to sing in front of all of them. Class rep is telling off the new kid, now, you can't go hanging around in town on weekends after 6 p.m. Lol, the motto of my high school was, look, as long as you're not in uniform, I don't care. And yes, I did use the same joke in the last episode because I'm a creative genius with an ever-growing and evolving repertoire. Shai-chan explains that she walks along that anime river to get home not because she's edgy, but because she doesn't like the big crowds on the regular footpaths. I don't know, still sounds a bit edgy to me. The new kid from earlier comes rushing past on her bike and falls into the river, which is fortunately very shallow as she manages to float in a way that stops her backpack from getting wet so that the audience doesn't have a heart attack imagining the girl's $1,000 plus iPhone breaking. Rice in the microwave won't fix that. New kid figures since her clothes are soaked, she's just got to get changed right beneath that stingy, gross bridge. Like, ew, no. Fucking find some public toilets, you feral. I'm sure there's some around this public footpath and park somewhere. Then she says, well, me undies are soaked. They gotta come off too. Which leads to the assumption that she has, like, spare track pants with her. But no, she just has this little frilly miniskirt on. Like, ew, no high schooler is this feral. But if they are this feral, you got to include the other feral things that go along with it, such as her smoking a couple of durries and being pregnant, her running around with no pants on that fast. This is the confidence of a girl who had her period last week. Shai-chan was gonna head on home, but new kid's like, nah, let's go on an adventure, which sounds lame. But then they mention they're in Kyoto, and it's like, yeah, that'd be a pretty cool place to go on an adventure. So they're just running along some footpath in the woods and Shai-chan's like, do you know where we're going? And strangely enough, new kid, who only moved here recently and doesn't even give enough fucks to wear pants, says no. She has no idea where they are. And Shai-chan just breaks down and starts crying about them getting lost. Are you okay? But new kid calms her down by saying, in order to get lost, we need a concrete destination in mind, which we don't. Okay, it's nice of her to comfort Shai-chan like that, but no, you don't need a destination in order to get lost. You need to have absolutely no idea where the fuck you are. After their little adventure, they end up on a bus into town, their concrete destination, if you will. And they see class rep out in town after 6 p.m. on a school night. A new kid like, that little hypocritical bitch. So, like any teenager would do in that situation, they stalk her down. And where do they arrive but at a tiny board game store in a dingy office building? Once they arrive, they find out class rep works there. These stores are so far and few between, the owner wouldn't hire a teenage girl over one of his own adult board game playing friends unless he's a seedy fucker. The owner explains that most of these board games are from Germany, Like, are they? I have no idea. If any rich nerds with solid social circles would like to answer for me, that'd be great. Just within the store, I see the outline of like a couple of games I recognize, like Dominion and Dixit. The owner offers to play a game with them. He invites class rep to join and she's like, I'm busy working. Whatever type of work this girl would be busy doing in a quiet board game store that needs no restocking with 0 customers is beyond me. They play Marrakech, aka a real game. A real, like, actually licensed, in existence and reality game. Holy shoot. I'm not surprised, purely because the ratings I've seen for this show have been 4 stars and 6 out of 10. And considering what I know of the characters and plot so far, it definitely wouldn't be that high due to them. The only problem with this format is that they're not going to be able to cover any really complicated or long games, aka the best ones. Like, god damn, Eldritch Horror is the shit, and man won't get to see these girls die from going too insane or anything. Look, I'm not going to explain how this game works. It's not important for these terrible jokes. In future episodes where I can make stupid jokes about it, maybe, but not this ep. Oh my god, Ferrotron is just sitting on this chair with no pants on. That is so unhygienic. Mind you, this is a game store. The owner probably wipes down the chairs whenever anyone leaves, because every game there'll just be some unwashed degenerate who specifically left the house for the first time this week just to play in this store. This must be why he's so eager to play with them. At last, customers who know what shampoo and soap is. So the boss is thrashing these girls who have never played this game before. Like, your first time is always a shit time. Plus, how the fuck is this good marketing? They're not going to buy your $30 game if they think they're shit at it. Class rep goes to help Shai-chan and the boss like, nah, store rules, you can play the game, but you can't help others playing it. And with this, Shai-chan like, I have never played this fucking game before. I have no idea what's happening, and breaks down into tears. Hang on, this is the second time in the span of a couple of hours. Jesus, this kid really isn't okay. Don't you dare go down the board games helped my autism angle. This girl has serious anxiety problems and needs therapy, not $100 board games. Class rep decides to become Shai-chan's teammate because that's not against the rules. Cue cool anime scenes of the characters dramatically deciding what move they should pull next and for what reason until they win! They celebrate with cute little girly jumping and high-fiving. Good job, team. Like, fuck no. When you win one of these games, you either look smugly at the other players or fucking lose it whilst your now loser players flip the table in anger. In the credits, there is what looks like some kind of brand name, which I'm assuming is some brand related to board games. I'll keep an eye on it over the next couple of episodes. When I looked up this series, the manga has a nice art style that's completely been bastardized into generic moe blob in this anime. Also, Asobi Asobase came out 2 years after this manga, so I'm liking the film theory that it's a parody of this. Episode 2. In class the next week, Shai-chan thanks class rep for helping her out during her darkest time, aka helping her cheat in a board game last week. Class rep says they're now eternal lovers forever because of this and headpats her to seal the deal. Just to be clear, I have played board games with people who I've never seen again, and if I ever saw them again, I wouldn't even recognize. So this logic is bullshit. Whilst Ferrochan is arguing with class rep about how come they're not allowed to play games during class but she still brought one to school anyway, Shai-chan notices a Bishi just staring at them and doesn't completely flip out at this. Through these Bishi's inner monologue, we learn that he has the hots not for the 2 nerdy girls but for their dumb friend. After spending a day never having the opportunity to talk to Ferrochan, he's about to head home from school when he notices her in the classroom with Shai-chan and he stops in the doorway. Just for class rep to be like, the fuck you perving on my friend for? And he's like, no, I forgot something. And she's like, oh yeah, what? And he's standing there suspiciously going, Ferrochan drops words of pure board game wisdom. Well, it's more fun when there's more people, right? Right, I love how this show, which is probably aimed at men, is sending the message, see, if you play board games, you can hang with your crush. They play some bugaboo game that I haven't heard of before. give me a sec to Google it. Cockroach poker. It's called cockroach poker. The subtitles decided to call it by its original German name, which was Kakerlanken poker, just to make things more confusing. It's pretty standard / I need to explain the rules to tell jokes. You got cards with buggos on them. You play your card face down and either say what's on the card or lie about what's on the card. The player next to you has to guess if you're lying or not. If they guess wrong, they get the card. And if they get 4 of the same card, they lose. You can pass it on, look at it before you pass, and then decide to say the same as the previous person or something different. There. Rules. Wasn't that riveting? But it's relevant because in a game where you have to lie to people, guess who the bishy's sitting next to? When Feral-chan first plays, he thinks, well, she can't be lying because she's such an angel. Nothing says angel like running around with no underwear on beneath the stanky bridges. But in a way, he's right because she didn't lie. And now she's sad that she's lost and he's like, fuck! So next time, in order to save his little to no chances with her, he passes on, pauses, then says, this is a different bug than what she said. And it was at this moment that Shai-chan not only realized that there's no way this dumbass was going to win this game, but also that he was completely whipped for Feral-chan. When he is genuinely surprised that Shai-chan guesses right, Old Class Rep gives us a fun fact about the game. If you pause to think of what bug name you're going to say mid-sentence, you're a fucking idiot if you think people can't literally see the clogs ticking in your brain to develop the lie. When it's Bishy's next turn, he straight up says with full confidence, this is a stink bug! And Shai-chan guesses correctly that it is one. And he is flabbergasted. And another fun board game fact from Class Rep that you're too dumb to remember a weird ass bug like that in a card game we've been playing for 3 minutes. Simultaneously, as she's telling Bishy how stupid he is for being so transparent, she's praising Shai-chan for having the amazing ability to know when he's lying. Okay, you can't have both. Either Bishy is shit or Shai-chan is amazing. Then it's the intense Yu-Gi-Oh moment of the show. Feral-chan is on the brink of losing and Bishy is thinking, well, it can't be a cockroach because she has too many of those. I could pass it on to Shai-chan, but she has the amazing ability to see through my non-existent poker face, so I'll have to assume she's lying, even if it means I lose. Because the real treasure wasn't winning. It was the power of pussy all along. I'm pretty sure most guys in this situation use it to completely thrash the chick to show off how clever and intelligent and talented and amazing they are. Class Rep like, geez, bish, you're not even the main character. Hurry the fuck up. And guess he wasn't lying because guess who's a dumbass? After killing his waifu, Bishy decides to leave and Feral-chan says, no wait! And looks down all shy and says, I might have the intuition for smart people games, but I got that dink intuition. And it says that you didn't leave something in the classroom because you just wanted to spend time with Class Rep. Oh no, girl, you have neither intuition. Even after realizing what a complete idiot Feral-chan is, Bishy's still feeling for her hard. Now, in the credits, there is the company Sugoro Kuya, which is a board game store / publisher, board game store / publisher in Japan. Knowing that Japan's equivalent to Good Games is funding an anime to help advertise their stock just makes this show funnier somehow. Episode 3, Shai-chan is heading off to meet her friends on the weekend, but in order to get there, she has to go past her PTSD temple, where as a child, oh my gosh, girls threw her teddy bear around and were like, oh my god, you always look like you're on the verge of a breakdown, which annoys me. Such harsh memories. How did she ever cross the temple? Well, I'll tell you how. Because there was just this lady lying on the footpath, so she goes to check on this presumably passed out person, but nah. She's just lying right on the ground in order to get her cat out of some sidewall grating. Like, she literally could have just squatted like a normal person would. But fuck her light pink skirt. Who cares about the stains that are never getting out of her clothing anyway? Shai-chan manages to get this cat out via finding a reed to play in front of its face. This is portrayed as her understanding others with stress when it's like, no. She just used basic cat logic most people would know to do, except for the lady who's smart enough to lie on a dirty footpath instead of squatting. Shai-chan meets up with her friends and goes to Feral-chan's house, and oh, guess who's her sister? Cat lady. This is kind of unlikely, but at the same time makes so much sense. No wonder she was lying on a dirty footpath and is too stupid to distract her cat with an improv toy, because she's related to that dumbass. But her sister also brought along her special friend, who is such an important friend to her that Feral-chan has never met her before. Her special friend is a Yankee. So as soon as Shai-chan sees her, she's all worried because she doesn't get along with people like her. Okay, that's just being prejudiced and a bit classist too, lady. So the sister met her special friend at a bar when she bashed up a guy that was bothering her. Just call her your girlfriend, okay? Just make her your girlfriend, because at this point it's more realistic than her just being your friend. Also, the family cat doesn't snuggle up with anyone except Shai-chan, because it's portrayed as her magic anxiety powers, even though come on. Even though most people don't have severe anxiety, they understand that animals are easily spooked and you gotta be quiet and calm around them. And two, it's these sisters, man. They're probably just too dumb to realize that you have to be quiet around their cat. So they play Ink and Gold. All you need to know is that the longer you play the game, the more likely you are to die and lose your points. Therefore, after everyone's played a full turn, you can decide whether or not to call it quits with the points you've got. The obvious girlfriend recognizes Shai-chan, and after Shai-chan taps out after the first round, she makes the weird comment, look at you, you're so pathetic, you're just screaming for people to bully you. And so after that, Shai-chan realizes that this girl is her past bully. Yes, this show advertising another reason why you should play board games. It's because it gives you the chance to bash up your own bullies. Which Shai-chan does. She doesn't bitch out this round. She stays playing till the end by herself and wins all the gold. It's only after she's utterly defeated her bully in a board game that she remembers that, strangely enough, the girl nice enough to bash up a guy that's bothering a girl at the bar is also nice enough to tell bullies to F off and give her back her teddy bear. I feel like there was supposed to be a lesson in this episode that wasn't just that Shai-chan's a prejudiced playing victim bitch, but I just can't see it. Episode 4. Okay, so we start with way too much time spent on this one new character. She is the Vice School Council President, currently acting as in the president's place because he's in hospital with a cartoony brace on his leg. Not sure why he isn't out of hospital yet for what seems to be a broken leg. And don't ask me how it happened because it's not important. As a result of being pushed into this position, Vice Prez is feeling the pressure to put on the best school festival that she can, which is supposed to be seen as uplifting and her wanting to help the Prez when it's kinda makes it look like she's trying to steal his job. We also get a backstory about what a swell guy the Prez is. A 17-year-old who looks like a depressed 30-year-old. At first, the Prez didn't like this guy. So she asks him, why are you the Prez when you're a shit and dodgy student? And he explains it's because his emotional intelligence is through the roof and he can pick out which jobs to give who and how to motivate them to do it. Basically, he's the Prez because he's an amazing boss. He says he does it to make people happy. Oh, where's a bucket to catch my vomit? Seriously, how many anime characters out there have this lame-ass motivation? It's literally the theme of every fucking idol anime. Shout out to Keep Your Hands Off Ezoken, which has the line, well, it's better than me saying I'm motivated to animate to make people happy. After that fairly long, extensive, and somewhat unnecessary character introduction and backstory, it legit takes up like half the episode. She nags class rep at work because in middle school she was the Prez, which she explains to her friends is because her senpai forced her into the role and she didn't want to do it in the first place. So the vice Prez is like, come on, help me out and I'll get you on the council, because that isn't dodgy political play or anything. When she asks class rep why she's even working at the store, she confesses it's because of her dream. Her dream to become a board game author. If you have ever looked up, how much money does a board game author make? The answer is money, but not a living. I remember one time I looked it up and there was the quote, yep, there are like 5 people who make a living from this. So this isn't even a case of, oh, but not very many people make it in as insert entertainment industry job here, but that no one makes a full proper living from this. No one. I can't even think of what to compare it to because there's nothing else out there with such little chances of making a living. Fuck, I don't know, like digging random holes in the ground. So yeah, everything this child has said is laughable. If anything, gaining good leadership skills from the school council in order to give her a better job, which she can then use to fund her board game making hobby, is a better idea. Even though the vice pres laughs at her and says, no one plays board games anymore, class rep says, well, I have the same motivation behind this as you do, and vice pres is shook that she also wants to make people smile. It's the most common motivation in the anime world. There's nothing surprising about this. Class rep makes a deal with vice pres that if she can beat her at a card game, then she'll help her with the school festival. She left at the part where she picks the card game, and the card game she picks is the one she has played many times before, unlike Vice Pres, and one she's particularly good at, and one where she can screw her the fuck over. She picks 6 Nimit/Take 6. No, I'm not going to tell you how this game works. All you need to know is that it's one where you can screw people over easily, and that's exactly what the class rep does. Vice Pres goes into this game full of confidence and leaves it full of no confidence. After she heads off, head in hands, we get more backstory. Oh goody! It only took up a third of this episode already and I was dying for more. So class pres got dragged into this hobby as a kid through her stoner bro who take her to the store to play games once she got hooked on them. Basically, they play this game that this guy, Alex Randolph, designed. Him being the first person to put his own name on the packaging of his game for marketing purposes, which is portrayed as a big inspirational moment. Even though the first thing you see about this guy when you Google him is that he is the son of self-described rich parents. So wow, what an inspirational and inspiring story. Look, considering how little money you make from board games, why is this girl waiting? She should just make a game herself. As they're walking home, a blonde girl overhears her say that she wants to be a board game author. Ooh, I wonder if she'll turn up in the series later on or not. Oh yeah, Alex Randolph is also quoted in the anime saying, games can bridge the generational gap. Okay. Just saying, my mum loves classical board games but cannot get her head around these more challenging ones. Like, the only game she can play with us is Love Letters, and even the pack I have is too confusing to use because it's the Adventure Time edition. Another thing that's gonna be weird about this show, apart from it not mentioning the cool board games, is not mentioning the rude card games. Are you shitting me? No one knows about these kind of nerdy board games, but everyone knows what Cards Against Humanity is. Not mentioning that in a show about board games and card games is hella awkward. Episode 5. It's summer and the girls are bummed because they don't have enough money to go on a trip to the beach. Even though class rep works, like, share the wealth, bitch. Well, Feral-chan is bummed because she only just learned that Kyoto isn't near the ocean. Even me, a white trashy fucking weeb, knew that. And if I know something basic that a native doesn't, that means said native is really, really dense. But luckily, Shai-chan's auntie just happens to own an inn. So convenient. That's the theme for this episode. So convenient. They go to the inn and find a game called Goita. So it started off as its own little bastardization of shogi back in the day, and now it's been commercialized into a card game. Class rep is all over this because they sell the card game at the store, but she's also all over the history of board games in Japan in general, including a whole bunch of obscure games that have never gotten modernized, commercialized releases. Now that just seems a bit too unrealistic to me. And then they're all off to the beach, except that it rains, so they don't go to the beach. They just stay sitting around the inn in their bikinis. Like, at least put pants on, jeez. There's this little shitty kid having a tantrum because he can't go swimming. His tantrum at similar levels of immaturity as Feral-chan's, so the girls ask him to play Goita with them. The dad goes to intervene to tell him to leave the girls alone. I'm sorry, but your child finally stopped shouting. Do not ruin this piece these girls have created. Goita the game seems a lot more fun than the thyroid condition. No rules this time, because even though it's basic, I can't fully remember the rules, and I'm lazy, and they play in teams of 2, and in this ep it explains the concept that certain moves will disadvantage you in some situations and help you win points in others, which is something this kid has to learn. Shai-chan's aunt said her niece had played this game before, but Shai-chan couldn't remember, but after playing this game for a bit, she remembers she had the same trouble as the current kid has, which was handled really well via her nephew shouting in her face and she running off in tears. So she decides to pair up with the kid to face her newly found childhood trauma. When it comes to that move where the situation is good one to use it, she literally looks the kid right in the eye and nods her head. That is cheating, but he is a kid. Also, my dad used to play crib in pairs, and this type of shit happened all the time. So that's the trouble with paired games where you're supposed to act separately. And oh, would you look at that, the rain stopped so that we still get our beach episode. I'm genuinely curious if there is anyone watching this show just for cute girls being cute, without any interest in the board game part at all. Because if so, at least they would fully appreciate the beach episode actually being a beach episode. Episode 6. It opens with the young blonde girl from episode 4 at a bar. Yes, a bar. It's a board game bar, but still, she shouldn't be there. And oh good lordy, oh lordy, would you look at that, she's also German, just like where that style of board game comes from. Wow. And she's talking to her dad, which to show that he's German, instead of him being an Aryan cutie like his daughter, he has facial hair just along his cheekbones. Aryan-chan excitedly tells her dear papa that she saw high school girls just like her interested in board games. Okay, look, it's still fairly normal / common to see high school girls interested in these strategic board games, and considering this girl is from Germany where they're way more popular in mainstream, surely she knows a fair few other girls who also like playing the board games. At the bar, we see the owner hanging out with an old American friend of his back from his military days in Okinawa. He's complaining about how board games are bestsellers in Germany but barely sell in Japan. And the owner's like, hey, guess what I've been doing since I was discharged? The girls are out for lunch talking about the game she made. Well, would you look at that? She is designing board games already. Guess I better hold my tongue from now on. And when Feral-chan's getting right up in her face and nagging her, she snaps. Just gonna say, if it was Shy-chan up in her face, she would have just condescendingly patted her head. And the next day, guess who turns up at the board game store, even though he said he had no interest in the no business board games have in Japan. He turns up as class rep is showing the owner the game that she made, and this ex-military guy just happens to be the main designer at Bad Dwarf, the new upcoming American company. Okay, I knew which company they meant, but I forgot that they weren't called Bad Dwarf, but instead Days of Wonder. Well, I guess we won't be having any Days of Wonder games played in this anime. I'm now really disappointed that the buff American guy with the seedy straw-like mustache isn't based on a real person. Unless there is someone at Days of Wonder like that. If so, let me know, because when I looked up their top author, from the wiki page it has the Ticket to Ride guy, aka a 69-year-old man from Southampton. So not looking likely. So this girl recognizes this guy by name, but not by face. You'd think if she were enough of a nerd to know who this guy is, she'd at least know what he looked like. When he asks to play her game, she says no, because who the fuck would want a professional in the field you're a mere beginner in to look at your poor first attempt? Then he riles her up about never being a success in order to get her to get people to test out her game, and she full on shouting at this grown-ass adult. Which fits, she's been a spirited little thing in this anime so far. So she eventually gets the girls to try it out. The game itself is where you have to fill your little rooms with furniture, getting bonus points for sets, and certain items being worth more if there's a shelf or a coffee table to store them on. This is good. It fits as an idea that's interesting enough to show in a TV show, but at the same time, I can realistically imagine a teenager creating an idea of this level. So they play the cute game and discover it's just a little bit bland without quite enough going for it and give suggestions. Can I just say, If that were me watching my closest friend shit on something I had been working on for ages and put my heart and soul into, I would die. The fact that class rep holds up is amazing. Respect, girl. Stay strong. Episode 7. Shai-chan out at a cafe by herself when obvious girlfriend appears. Yeah, I didn't think she was going to be a recurring character either. When she asks Shai-chan why she's sitting in a cafe by herself, she explains that class rep is busy working on her game. I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure obvious girlfriend wouldn't know that. Do you think class rep would really want you just telling everyone you meet that she's working on a game? And that Feral-chan is on a trip. Even though earlier on she was complaining about wanting to go on a trip and not being able to because of finances, but whatever. An obvious girlfriend like, they're your only friends, you nerd. And then wrangles her to hang out with her for the day. Bitch, she left the house. That's enough for an introvert. Please leave her be. So she takes this minor out on a motorbike ride, which I'm not entirely sure is legal. They go by a river, obvious girlfriend dramatically pulling out her hair tie, her hair waving and sparkling. Okay, this beauty shot was not necessary, / she'd have rank greasy helmet hair. They end up playing with hiragana dice and play a game of make the best insults. Obvious girlfriend is excited to play this because adults don't get time to play games like this. There is a not more adult hobby than going to a friend's house for cheese and wine to play these types of games. Like, you have to be rich with rich snobby friends in order to afford these types of games. There is a movie called Board Game Night, which is completely set around the premise of adults getting together and playing board games. Back to the game, obvious-chan insults are all calling Shai-chan a wimp, while Shai-chan's just calling her a Yankee and gangster and mannish, and obvious girlfriend like, brah, they ain't even insults. I mean, they're not insults, obvious girlfriend, but the fact that Shai-chan considers them insults says a lot about what she thinks about you. Then Shai-chan spells out arigato for that one time you saved me as a child, which obvious girlfriend still remembers somehow. Then she like, I only helped you because I had an abusive father. Well, that's deep for a show. That's main premise is, aren't board games just magical? But it's still a bit more interesting than her helping her out because like, she's a nice person or some shit. Then Shai-chan figures out how to defeat obvious girlfriend with compliments. No obvious girlfriend is her girlfriend too. So that's the first half of the episode. Second half is they put in an application for their class to run a board game cafe during the school festival. Okay. I have seen these types of booths set up at cons, and in general they don't work because 1, there usually isn't enough people at the booth to play anything, and 2, teaching a newbie how to play a board game in a noisy building in a short enough amount of time to make it worth their while is a hard feat to accomplish. But hey, kudos to them for trying. Vice Prez turns it down, purely out of spite for class rep refusing to help her before. But it's okay because guess who got out of hospital? I know he's flaky, but is he really flaky enough to forget to tell the person that is running everything for him that in his absence not to? He sees the submission form and uses his intuition to head out to the board game store in town where those 3 little nerds are of course hanging. Class rep is working in the store while still in school uniform. Like, if it's a family-owned fish and chip shop and you're running the register whilst your dad's off doing a delivery or something, then that's understandable. But in this type of store, nah. So he asks to play a game that puts him in the mood for a festival. Like something exciting you see at festivals. Like fireworks. Like the fireworks-themed card game Hanabi. They play the island. Okay, no Hanabi. The island. They even showed a pack for Hanabi in the first episode, I think. Just to play it. Look, it's a cool game, but nothing silly happened. All you need to know is in this game, you can get eaten by sharks or whales and ride dolphins. And class rep obliterated the school prez. Was Feral-chan just lost by her own means? During the match, Shai-chan was thinking, I think I've seen him before. Oh my god, Shai-chan. Not every older person you meet has something to do with your dark past. But then she realizes he's the school prez. Look, though I cannot remember them now, I could always recognize the student council head of my school by mere sight easily. The fuck is this girl's problem? After losing so badly, school prez like, whoa, let's run the cafe. Episode 8. In order to get ideas for their game cafe, the girls go to a game cafe in town. And guess who owns it? But Lil Arian-chan and her hair-growing cheekbone father. Class rep is straight to it. She's like, "Where you from?" Great to see such cultural understanding and subtlety right from the get-go. And when she enters Germany, class rep lights up. "Ah, that's where board games are from. How lucky. Yeah, and it's the founding place of the Nazi party. What a lucky place to be from." Also, this voice actress is putting on the foreign accent, where all their sentences go up and down in tone, and they especially hold on to the desi for far too long. I hate it. Since Arian-chan's mum's Irish, her favourite game is Celtis, which looks like a good game, but is a lame fucking nerd game to be your favourite. Show me some Eldritch Horror, you cowards! Like, this mentality does not work, cause Squatter's Australian. If you don't know, it's Intense Farmer Monopoly, which though it's a solid game with cute sheep tokens, I have never played that game until there is a winner, because that would take you days to get there. So yeah, it's not my favourite. And to get to ride just chillin' in the background, so do you have the rights to Days of Wonder games or not? This game was a little bit too complicated for my pea brain to remember the rules. All you need to know is class rep 1, and Arian-chan looked like she was gonna have a fit, but turned it around saying that no one's ever been here at that game before. That is a load of crock. As much as these games are skill-based, there is so much luck involved. It's the only way I win games, because I sure as hell ain't smart enough to. Arian-chan just casually drops how she loves Japanese high school girls' trademark, because they're so cute. And class rep is pretty disgusted at this sexualized racism, whilst Feral-chan's just fucking living for it. Then Arian-chan cries because this is her first time playing games with girls her age since she moved to Japan. And she mentioned she hasn't even started school in Japan yet. And I would probably also say that today was also her first time hanging out with girls her age since moving to Japan. So bitch, like, calm down. They tell her about their school festival cafe. So guess who turns up to the cafe? No one is coming because Vice Pres still abusing her power to smite those who refuse to do what she asked, just like a real politician, and stuck their club away in the abandoned old school building no one's coming to. Oh, but don't worry, because Arian-chan has a brilliant idea to get people to come, and it's to dress up in maid outfits and then post it on the school's social media account. It works. With guys only. At least from what anime tells us about school festivals, pretty much every class runs a maid cafe. So via anime logic, this tactic would not work, because why the fuck would you go all the way to the oldest abandoned school building to go to the maid cafe when they can go to just like 20 plus that are like a meter away from them? They try to imply it's due to Arian-chan being a foreigner and hot, and that's even creepier. But hey, we did it. We had men only be interested in something that requires a certain level of intellect purely because there was pussy, instead of it being the other way around like it usually is. Win for feminism. So Hugh comes along to the cafe, but the Bishi from episode 2, and he brings along his friend, the kendo cunt from Ranma Half. By the way, look-wise, not personality-wise. He isn't running around shouting and swinging his kendo sword here, there, and everywhere asking Kagome to marry him. When Bishi sees the Facebook post, he says, "Ah, she's the new transfer student." I didn't think she was here yet, but they did start a new term last step, so that makes sense. Bishi gets round up into teaching a group of guys how to play cockroach poker, all of whom are mad because they're all creeps who just came here for the girls. They are legit all in casual clothes. Like, these fuckers could be in their 20s and they're just openly going out to gawk at high schoolers. Like, that's fucked and shouldn't be happening in a high school campus. Kendo-kun gets dragged into playing a game which Shai-chan introduces, Double. Just when I watched that episode, the day I watched it, I watched Monster X playing it. Slightly different cards, but the same game. So basically, they're cards with different images on them, and if you see cards with a matching image, you call it out and hand it to someone else. Shai-chan explains that there are different ways to play with these cards, which is true, because in the Monster X video, whenever someone stuffed up, they had their butt whacked by the other 5 members with their exclusive merch roll-up camping pillows. Yeah, that didn't happen in the anime. I was literally watching this Monster X video, my boyfriend sitting next to me, and he did not mention the butt smacking once. But he reacted when I am just there screaming as he falls to the ground. Because no, that caught his attention. But the butts? Anyway, even though Shai-chan's supposed to be helping everyone, she becomes this Kendo Kid's personal coach because he's looking very, very confused at what is a very, very basic game. And then he gets the hots for her. Ooh. Just for clarity, since I haven't mentioned it yet, no, not every single girl who plays these games is an absolute cutie like this anime is trying to tell you. I've played games with multiple girls who have obviously unwashed hair, including myself. So no. Also, you think a school-run game cafe would feature games made by the students, and they did kind of hint before that they were going to set up class reps game there, but no, that never happened. Episode 9. Arian-chan explains that she's been living in Japan for 4 years, but has only just moved to Kyoto since her dad only recently opened up the cafe. And the voice actress still decided to go with the clueless foreigner accent. So somehow in that 4-year period where we assume she was living in Tokyo, aka a much larger city, and would therefore have more board game stores and more people interested in board games, she did not meet one single other girl with the same hobby. Sounds a little bit rubbish to me. The girls finally take her to the board game shop and she sees another favourite game and they play that. Elfinland. Have you never heard of this game? Well, you wouldn't have, because it's a less successful game by Alan R. Moon, the Ticket to Ride author. This game is fairly similar to Ticket to Ride, but you're in a fantasy world. Instead of different coloured trains, you have different mythical beasts to ride. So, the anime realised that Ticket to Ride fit the criteria for the show, aka it's short and doesn't feature crude words, but they couldn't get the rights to Days of Wonder games, so they just got the shitter version of their most popular game. Like, yeah, fuck off, this girl played Elfinland over Ticket to Ride. After playing, Arian-chan has a flashback to her playing her last game in Germany before she left for Japan, 2 of her friends looking like they came out of Hitler's youth. She then tells the girls that her wish is to make board games, and yes, it is so that she can make people smile. Can someone just have a motivation to do something due to, like, dough, or because they want to be in a job they actually find stimulating or some shit? But once Arian-chan mentions this, class rep heads the fuck off. Girl, don't you work here? You can't just leave. She's heading off because, oh no, what if Arian-chan is better at games than she is? We see her tossing and turning in bed at night in this massive queen-size bed with a canopy and pillows and frills and shit, and then her shelf filled with board games. Like, okay, I see a correlation between having a fuck ton of money and owning and playing lots of board games. After school the next day, Arian-chan says she wants to play a Japanese children's game, and they decide to play Daruma Doll Fell Down, which is What's the Time, Mr. Wolf? Well, it's more like red light, green light. And they talk about how there's pretty much no rules or incentive to win, so Arian-chan's genius move is to make the game more interesting is, each time you catch the Oni / Mr. Wolf / green light, you get a point. This very basic rule change is seen as an ingenious insight that makes the game just that much more fun. Like, no one plays What's the Time, Mr. Wolf to win. They play it to dick around. I think this is the first game I've seen Feral-chan win, probs because it didn't require any thought process whatsoever. Then Arian-chan quotes that every game needs improvement, a quote from none other than Alexander Randolph, and class rep just reacts, "You don't mean the godfather of German board games, Alex Randolph?" Like, what is with this anime and needing to know inspirational quotes from someone high up in the field? Like, I'm making a potty and I don't know any Joe Rogan quotes. In fact, I've never even listened to a Joe Rogan podcast. Except for his 10 minutes YouTube exit with Alan Jones. But apart from that, nothing. And hey, maybe that's why this podcast is so shit. I'm sure it has nothing to do with my terrible mumbled speech or shit editing or terrible sound quality or unfunny jokes or anything. It's because I can't recite any Joe Rogan quotes from memory. By the way, in the credits, Alan R. Moon's name appears, and I don't know if it's because he wrote Elfenland, but I'd like to believe that he specifically gave permission for them to use Elfenland in this anime, because even after the 50 different fucking versions of Ticket to Ride, he still needs more money. Episode 10. Feral-chan's drop-beat famous animal photographer dad arrives back in Japan after being away for 2 fucking years. She has daddy problems, so that's why she was running around with no pants on. This makes so much sense. Thanks for the clarity, anime. By the way, her dad's seedy as fuck looking with his long brown hair in a ponytail and this scruffy little mustache over his top lip. Also, how is this guy a world-famous photographer, and yet his kids live in a fairly modest apartment? Fucking class rep has more money than you guys, and her dad's probably a depressed salaryman or something. So when he arrives at the airport at night, he's in a big, puffy mountain climbing type jacket. Like, that makes sense. He's just come off a plane flight late at night. But then he wears it to some corporate meeting, like, okay, because you wouldn't be sweating your ass off in that thing. Arian-chan's cafe is holding a Christmas party that weekend, and Feral-chan's all excited because she gets to take her dad along. And when she's complaining to her friends about how her dad's never home and not that involved in her life, class rep says, "But isn't that all dads?" No, class rep, that's all shit dads. Place the bar higher for fatherly duties, please. But then her dad ends up accepting another photography job on the night. His defense being, "But afterwards you can spend time with me." Like, no, mate. That already happened. That 2-year trip away was the afterwards. You don't get a second one after not seeing your daughter for literally 2 years. She storms out of the house in tears and ends up at the board game store because where else is she gonna go? Shai-chan is nice and lets her sister know where she is, leading her dad to go pick her up. She doesn't want to go home, but the owner makes it pretty clear that there's no loitering in this store. Either you play games you have no intention of buying or you fuck off. During this, he calls her Aya-chan, and her dad does not flip out on this 40-year-old man being so familiar with his daughter. Like, get your dad act together. So they play a game of blockers! Finally, a game I've actually played. Well, Elfenland is basically not as good Ticket to Ride, so technically I've played that. If you're not familiar, blockers is basically Tetris in multiplayer board game mode. Your blocks must touch the corner of your other block and not connect via the edges. That's the rules, nice and simple. So it's Feral-chan, her feral dad, class rep, and Shai-chan playing. And whilst they're playing it, Feral-chan tries to lock up her area and whines and moans every time her dad tries to invade it. Like, I know I'm supposed to be feeling sorry for this girl, but fuck me, I'm too old for that. I just feel sorry for her dad ever deciding to fornicate. The two of them start having a family fight and DMing about how her dad's a flaky piece of shit, and he's like, "Yeah, I know." And Feral-chan shouts, "And that's why mum left!" And the other two girls are just sitting there. Oh my god, that is so awkward, just being forced into the middle of this family dispute. I can't breathe. I would die in that situation. Then he says that he does love Feral-chan, but that he just follows what's fun and doing otherwise would not be being true to himself. Have you ever heard of improving yourself? But this works because Feral-chan's reminded of his "but let's explore to make life fun" quote she recited during the first step. Did forget to write about it, but it did happen. And just forgives him. I forgot she's so stupid that he doesn't need a solid argument to win this one. At the Christmas party, with no dad there, which Feral-chan is completely fine with, Bishi and Kendo Boy come along as well, which is just as well because they're playing Ladies and Gentlemen, a gender split game. Male players work to make money, whilst female players pick out nice outfits and then flirt bargain with their male partner to buy it. If I ever see this game, I will use it for the much more useful purpose of being firewood. Yes, because remember, if you play board games, not only do you get to flirt with cute girls, but you get to play with cute girls who flirt with you and are good wife material. At least class rep and Arian-chan are paired together. Hey, if no one in the show hooks up, then it ain't gay baiting. Okay, it still is. But it's not as bad if the straighties are only hinting true. Also, I thought class rep had the hots for Shy-chan? Oh well, I guess she's easy. If you got the boob, you put me in the mood. Episode 11. Ooh, Bad Dwarf is holding a board game making competition. I don't think Days of Wonder do this in real life. If you go to their website in their Wanky About Us section, they specifically brag about not shitting out new games all the time. So it seems a little unlikely. And the owner nags her to enter since his ex-military friend George, whatever the fuck his last name is nagged him to nag her. Arian-chan is like, George, head author of Days of Wonder. Okay. I don't think even hardcore board game fans just fucking name drop people, okay? So everyone plays the new and improved version of her furniture game, which honestly doesn't seem too different from when they played it before. The girls all love it. The owner's like, it's missing something special. And the girls all start shouting at him and he's like, she's 15, come on, like her first game's gonna be a masterpiece. He specifically tells her to think of what she wanted out of the game when she first made it. Flashback to her as a child at one of her dad's massive franchise furniture stores. That's right, her dad's the CEO of Harvey Norman. Okay, technically more like Furniture City, but who the fuck shops there? So no wonder she can uphold an expensive hobby like buying board games. The fucking butler they hired to run the floor says how he loves furniture, but you can only own a certain amount, so working in a store where there's all the furniture he wants is his dream job. You could just be a millionaire, Sakamoto, buy all the furniture and mansions you want, just work at the stock market and you'll get there. But isn't there a thing where rich people would just get new furniture because they want to spruce up the house a bit? You know, like when middle class to poor people just change the positioning of the furniture to spice things up a bit. Rich people literally just buy a whole new room. So you just gotta have an income of more than 80,000 Australian dollars a year, Sakamoto. You shouldn't have dropped out of med school, Sakamoto. But after reliving this memory, class rep realizes that she made this game so she could own all the furniture. So then she makes the huge, big, important change of giving you a little room to put little furniture tokens in. This would make it more fun, but it also ups the price for production. Plus, it kind of seems like you didn't need an epiphany moment to come up with such a basic idea. She also adds in more rules and stipulations to make the game more interesting. It's a good fictional game where when the characters say it's fun or challenging, you can see why and find their statements believable. So good job, anime. But the idea of making a dream home with all the furniture I want seems super bland. But there are people like that out there. I still remember at a uni ball, they're the worst, just never go. I was sitting next to a girl and for fun, she pulled out an app of just furniture. And we went through and looked at all said furniture. I thought she was joking, but no. Just a suburban mum in the making by the looks of things. After everyone is so happy for class rep because her game now rocks butt, Shai-chan thinks, I don't know, for some reason I feel sad. This bitch! First, she has a completely prejudiced opinion of obvious girlfriend, that even after she becomes friends with her, she can still only see her as a thuggish Yankee. And now she's too jealous of her friend's success to be happy for her? Also, even though there's a board game comp and Arian-chan makes board games, and it's even been shown that she has better knowledge about board games and making them than class rep, the owner never asks her to put a board game forward, and she makes no attempts to show any from the audience's point of view. Or episode 12, class rep receives a letter about the contest. She failed. Which, who would have thought? A 15-year-old's first game didn't make it through a competition? But it still said in the letter that they enjoyed playing a game and that she should keep making games, and hinting that she should move to America to do so. All said whilst in the background motifs play of this gorgeous old building with American flags at the front that definitely isn't the headquarters of Days of Wonder. And then a gorgeous shot of the Statue of Liberty. Even though Days of Wonder's headquarters are in LA, but I guess in an alternative universe they're called Bad Dwarf and their headquarters are in New York. After that, they discuss spring break and how Arian-chan's returning to her homeland for a holiday and was inspired by class rep to the much easier task with a higher success rate of publication of showing an editor her board game. The two muse that in the future, Class Rep will probs move to America and Arian-chan will probs move back to the motherland. And next year, their classes are separated into humanities and science majors, meaning their friendship group will be split in two. Class Rep goes to give Shai-chan a hug, but Arian-chan better to it. Class Rep looks upset, but she has the hots for both of them. Class Rep, this is still a win. Take it. All of this info of people moving in like 4 or more years' time and of them not being in the same class next year, even though they're not all in the same class anyway and spend most of their time hanging out outside of school. Shai-chan is worried that everyone will leave. Yes, Shai-chan, everyone will leave to pursue what they want to do with their lives, you selfish bitch. How is she shielded as the most liked character in the show by other characters when she's so selfish and close-minded? During the break, when Shai-chan all upset about people going off to pursue their dreams without even considering how she feels, she decides to call out Feral-chan while she's sleeping, then heads off to the board game store and cafe, neither of the other girls being there because they have their own lives. So she ends up sitting on a park bench with a card game she brought, Toddles Bobbles. The pics from the game are all over the opening and ending, so you know it's important. So, while she's going through the deck, all the cards have colourful little monsters on them, and she's making the monsters talk because one of them looked like a stuffed doll she had when she was younger. And then flashback to her playing Tea Party with her dolls, even though her entire backstory is about how she doesn't like and is bad at playing games. So she does like playing games, she's just too snobby to play with other people and probably is too selfish to play with others. She just needed to play a game so structured that she didn't have to put in too much effort into aspects of playing such as relying on teammates, sharing, and being a generally nice and cooperative person. Anyway, she gets to one monster with a blank derp face with no expression on its face, and she's like, oh my god, it's introverted like me. Wow! Did you hear that, introverts? You're finally being represented in a card game. Hooray! This is such a big moment for your community. I mean, I never see introverted characters in mainstream media except for every fucking anime series ever. And I mean, it could have been a much less represented group such as ethnic minorities or the LGBTQI community or the disabled community. But this anime is all about how card games make introverts feel special. So introverts it is. Then her friends come along and they all cry about how Shai-chan made their lives so much better. Then they play Toddles Bobbles, where you name the monster cards, and once a card pops up for the second time, you have to call out the name it was given. I mean, this game does sound fun, but is the poster child for a series about board games really going to be a children's card game? It's time to do the duel! And it ends! That's the end. Look, at this point, I had been watching so many reverse harem series non-stop for this potty, which I have not released any of, and I'm not even sure when or if I'm going to, where because there were so many more characters and much more stuff happens in those types of shows, they were so much harder to write about. So this very basic, easy, straightforward show was a breath of fresh air. And it was so much fun to watch. However, it was shit. The only reason to watch this show is to see anime characters play board and card games. And I'm not really an expert on these games, but they very much felt like they weren't even the popular ones that people would like to see played. So it's a novel idea that maybe a hardcore anime fan / board game fan could get something out of, but otherwise it ain't anything special. Class Rep's homemade game worked enough. Shai-chan's a fucking bitch shield as the introvert self-insert kind of hero. And even though this was set in a board game store, there was not once a shot of greasy nerds shouting obnoxiously while playing board games in that. Heck, you never even saw any greasy nerds in that store. Alrighty. And that's that one done. If you listened, I don't know why. But if you got something out of it, then that's nice, isn't it? I made you happy, if we could put it that way. I made you smile. Oh, isn't that important? Alrighty, bye-bye.